Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Carl's Conversations. As you see on the other side of my screen, I got two tremendous local community heroes and advocates, Gary and Janette Holland. We're going to talk about some community things today, and I have been waiting for this conversation. These are two of the most interesting people that I know, and I mean that sincerely. Believe me, I'm not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to be what they call funny. As we get along in this conversation, you'll see I have such respect and admiration for them. They are so serious about God's people. They're so serious about what the Bible calls the least of these and people in their community and family. When I think about these two, they do embody God's meaning of agape love. They do have love for people, and I appreciate it. I often say when I hang around Gary, I get more and more things to do. If I'm gonna do anything with Gary, my wife give me a certain look, and that look means don't come back here with no more titles. I thank God Gary has been a brother to me since I have come to this Stafford, Prince William County area. I guess in many ways a big brother in ministry, in the community, in several different ways, and I appreciate him. And I love the personality of his wife, Janette. You know, some people will tell you that they love the truth, but that statement is not always the truth itself. But when Janette tell you that she loved the truth, I need you to understand that Janette loved the truth. Now, she has an affinity for the truth, unlike some folks that you know. Now, she'll remain quiet sometimes. And if you ask Janette a question, you have to be totally strapped in and prepared for the answer. Now, she's not mean-spirited. She just loves the truth. Now, you stop me when I start lying, Janette.
Okay. You're not lying. You're not lying.
And she hasn't stopped me yet. We thank God for our brother Thaddeus Randolph, who's in the audience. Thank God for you, brother. Well, Thaddeus and everybody else who's in the audience, we're going to ask that you go ahead and begin to share the stream. We're live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter/X. So wherever you're catching the stream, whether you're in the live audience or on the playback, make sure you send somebody that link so they can come on in with us. This is a very, very interesting conversation about community, and I can't wait to get into it. And just a little background. It was a setting just like this several years ago, where just previous to a setting like this, Gary and I were talking, and he asked me, I was asking him something about his wife. I think she was just starting to branch out on her own with her business. He said, "Hey, you want to interview her?" I was like, sure, but I've never done it before. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to send you a link." And just like that, 10 minutes later, I had the link and we went right into an interview. It was the first time I ever did it. And when we finished, I said, "Man, send me all of that information." And that is what started Carl's Conversations and all of the other platforms that I'm on. I thank God this guy helped me to find my niche, find my voice in social media. So I'm eternally grateful for that. Thank you, brother. I certainly appreciate it. And so, Janette, you were my first interview. Now, when I look at it now, I'm saying, oh, God. They had a lot of patience with me. There's been much growth since then. We thank God. Listen, I think y'all are so busy. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk with us and really to address the community. There's so much that y'all have to say to address us. And I want to set it up like this. I'm going to give you the microphone in just a minute. Gary is the founder of a community group called Enough. And this came out of the era when we had serious racial tension, stark racial tension in 2020, when we had an international incident with the death of a Black man by the hands of the police in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we were making a declarative statement. We've had enough. Enough has done tremendous work in this region here in the Rappahannock region in Northern Virginia. I guess we call Central Virginia also, when it comes to making political inroads, when it comes to making sure that people of color are registered to vote, and supporting minority businesses when it comes to taking care of people who have suffered food insecurities, homelessness, the gamut of things. Nobody can really tell it like Gary. I had a part in it for a while. I kind of fell off. I had some things going on with my health, but and hanging around him recently, I realized that I'm gonna have to step up again. There's so much that needs to be done. Lord knows I'm totally with it. So I'm gonna step aside, and I want Gary and Janette to kind of introduce themselves to the audience that may not know you. Tell them a little bit about yourselves and about Enough, if you don't mind. Gary and Janette.
All right, thank you, sir. And look, that first interview was amazing. You did great,
Yeah.
man. And you've gotten better and better with every interview since then. So looking forward to seeing you on your own network one of these days on television. All right. You want to start with the introduction?
Well, yeah, I'm Janette Holland, and I'm an entrepreneur. My company is called Bless Hands, and I'm a fiber artist in the local area.
All right. And she local area, but she has some pieces traveling all over the place. And she just got a notice today that a piece she did recently is going to be. Oh, she said I can't say it. The lady said she can't. It can't be disclosed yet, but it's going to be shown or showcased at a very prominent museum in Washington D.C. I'll say that much. Stop elbowing me. I'll say that much. So I'm Gary, and glad to be here. Thanks for having us on here tonight, Carl. We've been in Stafford for a long time, the Stafford, Virginia area, raised our children here, and we've been married 30 years. This past August 20th made 30 years. And, I thank God that when we met, it wasn't about church or anything, it wasn't at the forefront of my life, anyway. But I thank God looking back that, I found her and she led me to a little church in Woodbridge, and that's where the Lord got a hold of me, and He hadn't let me go. I hadn't let Him go since then. So we both have, raised our families with Christian values, God-fearing values, and we follow Christ. And we learned early in ministry, at the ministry where we were reared, and Word of Faith, to serve, in the community, and to not serve by stroking a check, to not serve by just stroking a check, but to serve by getting out where people are and spending time with people, getting to know people, touch people, hear their issues, connect with people, build relationships, let that relationship be the conduit, through which, your ministry flows. And I love it. I love it. I talked to a guy tonight at church, and he was saying that the reason he comes to the church where we serve now is because of, our work in the community. And he said, and I didn't know this before tonight, he said there was a time in his life when he was young, he was one of those kids with his single mom going from church to church to get food, and churches would turn them away because they weren't members. And he said it left a stain, in his heart, and that's why he didn't go to church. And he's retired from the military now, and he said, but he found a church where we serve folks, and you don't have to be a member, and we get out and rub elbows and try to help people where they are, and that's what drew him, right? And I know there are thousands of churches that have that mindset. Transition Place has that mindset, and I love it. And I told him I'd rather be out serving and meeting people and helping people than standing behind the pulpit, or preaching a sermon. That's just how God called me, and being out in the community is vital. So Enough was born out of a tough time in our country and in this area, and out of it, after we got through that tough time, COVID came, another tough time, and that spurred Enough into totally different directions with the health department and vaccines and testing and all those things. And during COVID's food insecurity became a major issue, and that drove us in a different direction, where we really began to partner with agencies, and we've established three food banks actually, and all three are operational and active, serving their respective communities through partnership with local agencies, et cetera, to meet people where they are and make sure they have something healthy to eat. We're not just giving them bags of oodles and noodles, right? We're giving them produce and, other things that people need to be healthy with their families. And through that, we're able to connect with them and share the message of the gospel with them, and befriend them, etc. And we've gone in different directions: community service, youth empowerment. I've done a lot of youth events, a lot of youth workshops, women's empowerment, and we'll talk about that tonight. Some of the things we've done for 4 years with women, and we're going to keep on going in whatever direction the Lord sends us with enough, as long as we have the strength. You see, like Carl, I have this gray beard, so I may not have the energy and strength I once had. But until the Lord says slow down, we're going to keep pressing ahead. And until Janette says slow down, right? The Lord and Janette.
That's right. I
It
want to
might be a
frame a question.
combination of all.
Yeah, that's right. I want to frame a question to you too, like this. In light of what's happening in our nation now, we know on Monday we had the swearing in of a new president and a new administration. There are many in communities of color and marginalized communities who are in fear, who have uh, some some negative feelings about what is to come because some of the rhetoric that has taken place in previous years. In light of that, the community work that you're doing with Enough and through Zion and the other branches that you serve through, and there are many. For people who know you, Gary, we know the many tentacles, and people who know you, Janette, the many tentacles. And I'm hoping that we'll get a chance to talk about some of those tonight. But through that lens, when we look at where we are now at the federal level, and of course, some of our viewers who are in different locales, they may be having those same type of fears at the state and local level also. When we look at it through that lens, it puts another level of importance on community advocates like yourself. And I'm gonna ask you about that word that you chose to use, to advocate. But I want to look at the work that you're doing through that lens, how important it is now. Enough has been around, and even before you founded Enough, you were already doing this type of work. But now that we find ourselves in this season, for those people who kind of feel helpless and voiceless, what is that? Does that put an extra weight on you two with the things that you're doing in ministry, with the things that you do in Enough and in the community? Is that an added weight, or is it business as usual for you?
It's not an added weight. I view it as an added opportunity, another opportunity. It is funny you bring this up because there are people, Hispanic people primarily, it comes to mind. There are people that are afraid, and they're afraid of ICE raids, and they're talking about, the ICE raiding churches, because they know that, Hispanic people are typically people of faith, especially in the charismatic community, and they gather. We have a Hispanic church that rents our building Sunday afternoons and on Wednesday evenings. And we had a discussion tonight that we are going to just talk with the pastor to make sure that they're aware of their rights in the event that something happens at the church, because they're saying they're going to raid these churches. So people are upset, are afraid. I view that as an extra opportunity, because when we serve in the community, the homeless community, when we serve at the food banks, there are a lot of Hispanic people that attend, that pick up food, and they've built relationships with us. We've built relationships with them. They trust us, and they'll talk with us. So I just view that as an opportunity to make sure they do know their rights. If they're citizens of the country, they have rights. If they have people staying with them that are here illegally, they still have rights. So it's an opportunity to share information with them in the event something happens that's ridiculous or untoward, and through that sharing of information, it opens the door to connection. It opens the door to ministry. And everything that I do, I view it as an open door to ministry. It may be, different. It may not be standard, but I view it as an open door to sharing the gospel or praying with somebody, encouraging somebody, maybe giving them some information they didn't have before, whether it's about elections or voting or the things that are going on now and the fear mongering that's going on now, food insecurity. Sharing information for me is a way to connect with folks and show them the love of Christ. And I view that this as a season where we're going to have more and more opportunities to share information with people, to help people through difficult times, so we can show them the love of Christ. At the end of the day, that's really what it's all about. And
How
and,
about
and
you,
and one
Janette?
thing I mentioned too, Carl. Yeah, I was going to ask her. She was just talk a little bit about how you were feeling this morning when we were talking this morning about all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I'm actually one of those people. Now, I know the spirit of fear is not of God, but I'm one of those people that, just feel uneasy at times and lately. And one thing personally I have to do is kind of get off of social media because it will light the fire. But I'm one of those people who have concerns. And, this morning I actually talked to Gary about it and I was like, I just don't feel comfortable. And I'm kind of worried about what's coming up. And I feel that I have some type of foresight, and I'm like, do everybody see what I see? Do people see what's actually going on? And for the long term. And so, one of the things, of course, Gary's there, to encourage me. We just have to really pray and rely on our faith and continue to do what we do all the time because right now, what the country is going through is not going to stop someone from being hungry. And so we just got to work through it. And I think it's a whole lot of people across a whole lot of demographics that have concerns, and some people more fear. But we just, we got to love on them and try to help them the best way we can and support
Wow.
each other.
I thank you for that. And I,
Mhm,
I, I want both of y'all to try to tackle this one too. As
mhm,
as Gary and I were negotiating, how we were putting together the flyer. Uh, as you know, Gary is very detailed when it comes to stuff like that.
mhm,
Me, I was about to just throw it out and something said, "Don't do that." Send this to Gary. I said, "Me and Gary are always on the same sheet of music." And this is me having the conversation with myself. And I'm so glad that I said, "No, let me just run this by him first." And I had up there Gary and Janette Holland, community leaders. And he was adamant, no, do not use that word. Use community advocates or something. And he made a statement, people always claim to be leaders that they ain't doing nothing. And I said, man, I want to talk about that because what he said was so true and he was passionate
mhm,
about it. Can
mhm,
you two talk about it? Because I know there's got to be something y'all talk about. You have a passion
mhm.
about this word advocate versus leader. Can you share that, please? Both of y'all.
Okay. I mean, it really is. It really comes down to. I mean, words matter. Words do matter, and there's connotation with words. And when you say leader, people kind of attribute things to that. And I just don't. I don't. I consider us as servants. I consider us as people that just want to, show the love of Christ. And when I think of the word advocate and advocacy, those are people that speak up for others. Those are people that stand in the gap for others. And that's what we do, whether it's in community service or in ministry or friendships. That's what we do. We stand, as best we can, in the gap for others. We advocate for others. We speak for others when they may not have the words. And there's so many things over the years that we've done that reflect that. We speak for others. We help others understand how to move ahead. Years ago, I mean, a long time ago, God gave me an idea for a nonprofit called Connect the Dots.
Mhm.
And he gave me a logo and everything. And it was all about connecting people to sources of information and services that they didn't know how to access. And he put that in my heart a very, very long time ago.
Mhm.
And it went dormant. But now I think about that, and that's exactly what he has us doing.
Mhm.
He has us doing that. He has us standing in front of folks, helping them to connect to sources of information, sources of ministry, sources of food, sources of income, housing, etc. And that's what an advocate, in my opinion, does. We
Mhm.
stand there and we just help people become connected to what it is that they need. We're not leading them, but we're advocating for them. We're speaking for them until they can speak for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I think the connector dot is it was a beautiful vision a long time ago, and we had to grow up to it, I think.
Yeah.
And And now God is we didn't know, and this is part of the preparation. We didn't know learning about other programs and connecting and networking and volunteering, helping and going and supporting. We didn't know all those things were actually preparing us for connecting the dots. So now, Gary, especially Gary, all day long, all day long, he's getting calls. I'll get a few here and there, but he's getting calls. He's getting, texts and emails about, do you know someone? Or I have this problem. What do you think? And it's so funny because, people say, if you want to get a connection, contact Gary. And it's the
Hmm.
truth because he usually always knows somebody. And he's one of those people, you know how you ask people for help and they really don't move? Gary moves immediately,
Yes.
and people are literally shocked. It was like, wait a minute, because people will say, okay, I'll get to it, or I'll try to help you, or I'll make some calls. Gary, maybe because he's getting old and he wants to do it before he forget.
Exactly.
But
That's it right there.
She was trying to give you
but
some credit, but we know what time it is.
whoa. But he usually which is a blessing. He usually does it right away. And so he doesn't forget it. And it also shows you how important those people are, the people that contact him are to him, because, instead of saying, I'll do it later, I'll do it this evening, which a lot of times I would do, he does it right away. So, we, again, like I said, I can't say it enough. One of the things that God has tasked us to do is to reach the people, go out where they are, and meet a need.
Mm.
And that's what, we're trying to do.
And that is advocating, and I appreciate that. But Janette, I
Mhm.
can't let you off the hook either. Now I got to tell the story. I remember
Okay.
when you were first starting Blessed Hands. As a matter of fact, that's what the first interview was all about. And
Mhm.
you were meeting a need because the healthcare professionals didn't have enough masks, and
Mhm.
people in general. I mean, COVID was wearing us out. We didn't have a lot of
Mhm.
information, and even though your mask didn't meet the medical standard, I tell you one thing: I
Mhm.
worked in healthcare. I knew something on my face was better than nothing on my face. And so
Mhm.
what we ended up doing was we would wear your mask combined with the medical mask. I was double
Mhm.
masking. I didn't go where near the building
Mhm.
without a double mask, right? And
Yes.
so here it is. Of course, it was business because you were selling them. And if I remember
Mhm.
correctly, I don't even think you were really
Let, let,
selling
let
them at
me
the.
let me
Yeah,
correct you.
Yes, ma'am.
I did not sell.
initially.
And well, I think I always called it donation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I always said you could give a donation. And then I would
Okay.
tell them what that donation should be. But for a long time, for a very long time, because there was such a shortage. And we were shut down, that I would give them away. And for a long time, I was giving them away. And then a few healthcare workers would say, "Well, can I bless you?" And I was like, "No, I don't need it." They said, "No, let me bless you so you could keep it going, so you could keep on buying your products." And that's where it all started. I said, okay, so I'll put it out there. People want to donate, then they can. But my concern was I had all this fabric, I had the time, and I had a heart, and people had the need. And so it was a matter of just taking care of a need. And and it made people feel better too. The double mask to have, especially when you were in the medical field or any essential workers, to have that double mask which, I grew, ended up putting pockets and putting the charcoal filter in. So we stepped up our game as the need demanded. We stepped up our game. So, it was a blessing during that time. And what it allowed me to do, actually, it allowed me to actually quitting corporate America and officially going full time with Blessed Hands. And Blessed Hands is, I'm a fiber artist, so I do artwork. But because of, God blesses, and I always know that, and I believe that, where you think that you're walking and doing something, he is preparing you for something else. So doing the mass, and I believe because it was from my heart, he allowed me to do what was in my heart.
And that's the point that I was getting to. You started serving others. It was kind of selfless, to be quite honest with you. But look at where God took you. And I never knew that you had that gift. I didn't know. And to be honest with you, as I look at your products, I'm always peeking at what you're doing with Blessed Hands. I don't know, of course, what's in your heart when you're creating these things. But many times when I look at your artistry, I still see it as like a position of advocating. You seem to always have a hidden message in what you're doing. Now, I can't speak to it, only you can. If you don't mind,
Well,
can you talk about it a little bit?
That's true. It's actually, I'm glad you made the observation. It's really, really true. Um, there are certain pieces that I've done, and most of my work, um, it, it does come from the heart. Um, Clementine Hunter, she was a folk artist from my hometown in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and she grew up on a Melrose plantation. And I grew up seeing a couple of her paintings throughout the years. So when I was searching for some type of inspiration, I said, well, you know what? I remember her. And it'd be nice to do a piece of artwork from my hometown. And she spoke to me. Her story spoke to me. And um, when I'm going through the process of creating, it is such a spiritual experience for me.
Mm,
Sometimes I don't sleep. I could go all night just doing a piece of artwork because it's talking to me. And
mm.
then there are times where I don't go into the studio because I don't feel it. So, so I did a couple of pieces with her as my motivation and my inspiration. And those sold very quickly. And actually, one of them was the most I've sold a piece for at that time. So I was like, wow. And she allowed me, well, what I got from her was she was denied um, what she was worth. She was giving paid pennies for her artwork, which are now worth millions. So when I was doing her, I just felt in my spirit, I want to honor her and I want to give her flowers that she was denied as when she was here on earth. So yes, my artwork speaks. It's spiritual to me. It has a message. Different pieces have different hidden messages, and I just love when people just sit there and they'll look for a long time. And I'm just kind of curious, will they get that? Will they see that? Will they see the meaning? So yes, each of my pieces, I could go on and on and on about them. And but yes, my husband is poking me, so I guess I'm talking too much. But when you have a passion, you can talk about it.
Well, there's a reason why I pulled that out. Some people, why are they talking about it? And we talking about community. That's part of the community. You
Hmm.
take away the arts, you really messed up. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never said this publicly. A lot of the work that you were doing, your artistry, during that tough time of 2020, dealing with COVID, dealing with all of the racial mess that we were dealing with, I was going through. Here it is.
Mm.
I'm the man of God. I'm the leader of my household. Um, I'm leading people in other areas, but I was really hurting. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't fight no more. Uh, a lot of times, your artwork was an outlet for me. It was an escape for
Oh,
me. So when we talk about
amen.
advocating, I'm not the only one. Maybe I'm the only one who's saying it publicly, but I did want to
Hmm.
pull that out in this interview because I'm sure somebody else that's feeling the way I feel, and I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. People go to substance abuse because it's an escape. Well, your
Hmm.
artistry is an escape, and it's a safe escape. So I
Hmm.
want to encourage
Wow.
you
Mhm.
to keep doing what you're doing. Not
Oh,
only
thank you.
with enough and through Zion, but also in your working in your business and seeing a woman of color being able to let go of a very successful corporate career. Many people probably would have called you crazy, and to pursue
Hmm.
what you have pursued. That gives other women of color, people in general,
Hmm.
a frame of work to look forward to. And I thank you for that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And you know, you're right. It is community because she, through her work, she's exposed to all kinds of people
Hmm.
and exposed to different communities and different age groups, different, you know, genders, different, you know, racial makeup, different demographics. And but art kind of unites them. It unites people. They see it and they appreciate it. I've seen her at shows where people, she doesn't like to talk, and people come up and I'm always saying, Janette, you got to talk to this person. They want to talk to you, not me. You know, I don't
Right.
mind talking, you know, but they want to talk. So I've seen her talking to people and different types of people, and it expands, you know, the community that she, you
Hmm.
know, interacts with through the art. So you're right, it's definitely related to community, and it connects you to, connects her to, connects us to, you know, different. We've been to different states because of her artwork and met different people and people that are. We met a lady. One of her primary benefactors is really invested in farming and helping, you know, African American farmers around the
Hmm.
country because the government has eliminated a lot of subsidies and things like that, and their farms are going out of business. And she's committed, you know, to helping pass legislation, you know, for that community. So the art has opened doors to understand more about different areas around the country, different pockets around the country that need help, you know. And so it
Hmm.
is a key that opens up a lot of different doors in the community.
That is great. I want to talk about enough for a moment. I want to talk about you gave us a great catch up on how the organization was formed and some work that you have done. I want to know that in this present time, what is enough doing? What is the vision for 2025 and beyond? And I want to know what is it that you need. You have a captive audience, and so I want you to tell us what you're doing, what you're going to do, and what you need.
Yeah, what I can say, what we're doing this year is focusing and prioritizing and focusing. And we're focusing on three major things for this year. Number one is coming up on March 29th is the fourth annual Central Virginia Most Influential Women's Banquet. And it's fourth year, over 200 people each time. You know, you dress to impress. It's catered, live music, very impressive, impactful keynote speakers. We've had Susan Spears, who leads the local Chamber of Commerce. We've had a former Miss USA
Hmm.
spoke was our keynote speaker one year. We had Abigail Spanberger last year was our keynote speaker, and I believe she's running for governor of Virginia this year. We highlight local creativity during the banquet, but most of all, we accept nominations from all over the region, and we put together an impartial committee every year, and they're totally autonomous, and they go through the people, they check interviews, and they select people, and we honor these women, and we've honored 10 honorees per year. So, some years, one year was 12. Never had any duplicates. We also have honorable mentions every year, at least 10. Never had any duplicates. And that just tells me 60 women. And there's so many more
Hmm.
that deserve to be recognized and honored from all walks of life, faith, business, nonprofit, education, elected official, anybody is eligible. So we're doing that again this year. New venue, A&B Event Center, a minority-owned, woman-owned event center, off the charts. Latasha Brooks leads that organization and that facility. I'm excited about it, and we're making good progress. We need sponsors to help make sure we can meet, the need. We're getting the sponsors slowly. So if you're watching and you want to sponsor, want to donate a couple of bucks, go to the website, mostinfluentialwomen.org. And my key partner in this and co-founder is Vernon Green from G3 Community Services. And we've been standing side by side to make this happen for 4 years now. So that's number one on the list. Also, we're focused on doing our fifth annual Juneteenth celebration. It's going to be at the Fredericksburg National Stadium in Fredericksburg for the second year. And we just received confirmation from the stadium. We can use it again for free. And we're going to start working on that. So I'm going to focus on the women's banquet, focus on the Juneteenth celebration, and then in the fall or the summer, heading into the fall, we're going to continue with our voter advocacy initiatives, going into communities and setting up different sorts of events, with an ultimate focus on making sure people know who's running, know who the candidates are, and they understand the importance of voting. And that's where we want to focus this year. And the fourth area is we're rebuilding the board for enough. It is a 501c3, and we're rebuilding our board. And we don't need people to do. We have operational people. We need some strategic thinkers and people to lock arms with us, pray with us, and help develop the vision for enough for the next 10 years. Because it's not something that we're doing just for now. We want it to sustain itself and to grow and expand. We were in other states for a while, and we want to kind of get that back and see what it is the Lord has for the organization going forward. Janette, one thing we made a big change. Janette is the president of Enough, and I'm the vice president. But we still need board members to sit with us and be strategic. And let's think about what else is it we can do, especially during the changing times we're facing over the next 4 years. I'm sure there are going to be open doors and open opportunities for Enough to get out and help some folks, provide information for folks, some guidance for folks, and speak for folks that don't have the words to speak for themselves. So that's kind of our vision right now for the year, and what our key need is right now. Number one, sponsors for the women's banquet, and number two, board members, so we can kind of start thinking ahead and planning.
Two questions. What type of qualifications are you looking for your board members, and where can they send their resume and or bio for consideration?
Yeah, and me, Carl. One thing I think that keeps people that have gifts and on the inside of them, and vision and passion. Sometimes we limit them by putting a bunch of requirements around it. You got to have this, you got to have that. The only requirement to be considered for the board is that you have a passion for people, and you have a passion for helping people that need help, educating people that need to be educated, guiding people that need guidance, and you don't mind rolling up your sleeves. But more importantly, for the board, you have a passion for folks, and you have vision. You have vision. You have desires to expand your impact as a single person. How can you do that? How can you multiply, the impact you have on people? That's the key. If you have a resume, or if you want to just talk to us about it, it's Gary.enough Gary.enough@gmail.com. Just send me an email and we'll set up time and we'll talk. During my day job, I'm a senior director for a global software company. I interview folks all the time. I am a businessman to bring home the bacon. So I do understand those things. But anybody can contact me if you're interested, and I'd love to talk with you. And maybe it's not a board seat, but maybe you can serve in one of our initiative areas and help drive vision for that initiative area. But if you have an interest and you want to talk, give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Right?
Absolutely. Just be serious.
Yeah.
If you have to be serious. People come in and they're not ready to make the commitment. So you have to be serious and ready to make that commitment. And you have to be honest with yourself, because it's going to take a little work, but not much, because you're going to be working with a team. But you have to be committed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is this a 1 year commitment, 2 year commitment?
It'll initially 1 year, 1 year,
Okay.
and after that, we work together and, we take it from there. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, I'm hoping that this is gonna get out, and hoping some folks gonna contact you tonight. I might be one of them. First, I gotta go talk to the boss.
Yeah, I thought you had to go talk. Yeah. She said, don't be bringing no more work to her.
That's right. I'm already in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad that we're having this interview and this conversation. I really do mean that in this time. You know, I'm one of those. I'm kind of like you, Janette. I have a lot of things to say, but I don't say them publicly unless I feel led to do so.
Mhm.
We're in an uncertain time for many of us in our nation right now. I know there's some who think differently than maybe we do, who feel very confident and very purpose right now because they won. Their candidate won at the national level. Maybe their candidates won at the state and local levels also. So maybe they feel very purposed and very driven and very confident. There are people like us on the other side who, maybe not. And so you got to ask yourself, when you're not empowered, what can you do? And one thing I've set my foot in stone to do is to do all I can in ministry and in the community to make it better and to be an advocate. I love the word that you're using, to be an advocate for the least of these. Nothing new. We've been doing that, but there's a special emphasis on it now. It's some folks who have reason to fear. We see what's going on this week. The swearing in was on Monday. There's already a stir. If you are part of a marginalized community, there are some changes that are affecting you. And so there's every time to tighten up and to love your neighbor. This would be one of those times. So I respect what you're doing in Zion with blessed hands and through all the other tentacles that you serve. And that's one thing I want to bring out. Now, I just mentioned Zion. I mentioned Enough. I mentioned Blessed Hands, but there are a few other areas where y'all serve. Do y'all mind letting us know?
A few. Those are the three primary areas that we focus on. There are always going to be things that spring out of that. But those are the three primary areas. What comes to mind outside of that?
Well, the different things that we do, like Mars Hill.
Well, yeah. Okay, there. Well, one thing too that's interesting. There are a lot of things that we do that people don't know if it's enough, or if it's from the church, or if it's just Gary and Janette. Because at the end of the day, foundationally, they're all the same. But we partner with. We have a very good friend, Natalie, and through that relationship, we have a new relationship with a church, New Generation. They just changed their name. Actually, they had to change it. I forget the new name. But we serve those that are not at a shelter, but that actually are on the street, and we serve them. One Sunday a month, there are over 100 meals. We put together 100 meals and serve them, and we do that in partnership, with Zion. We also serve at the Brisbane Center, the Thurman Brisbane Center, on a regular basis. We go in, and Janette manages the kitchen, and she comes up with the menu, and we get a lot of volunteers from the community. We leverage Stafford Black and that network, and we have a huge volunteer pool. And these are people from all kinds of churches and ages, and it's not about a church at all. It's about people that see this as an opportunity for them to come in one Sunday a month, for some, maybe, once a quarter, roll up their sleeves and cook a good home cooked meal. I mean, I don't know how she does it. She comes up with stuff, and she gets everybody in order, and there's homemade dessert all the time. The residents love when we come, and it gives us an opportunity to meet these folks, because we see them all the time and we have a relationship. We were just there, and a young man came up to me, and he said, how you doing? And he said, this is the last time you'll see me. He said, Wednesday, I'm out of here, and I got a job in Maryland, a place in Maryland, and I'll get my daughter back once I get situated, and you won't see me here anymore. There was a family that was there, a grandparent, grandfather, grandmother, and like 6 of their grandkids, and they were all in the shelter. And we would go so consistently. They were always there, got to know them, got to meet them. And when they moved out, right, when they graduated, it was a big thing. And they said, please come to the graduation tomorrow. And I stopped what I was doing the next day, came down there, and it choked me up. They had the moving truck. They moved all their stuff out of their dorm into the truck, and they were driving off. The grandfather was crying, the mother was crying, and it was amazing just to be able, just through service, to connect with people and to be able to celebrate, with them. So we do that. We partner with a lot of other organizations across the region. In the summer times, we support the Peace in the Paint basketball community initiative, which has grown bigger and bigger every year. It expanded now. There's a Peace in the Paint Winter Edition, all focused on the kids. Basketball tournaments are the thing that brings people, but it's focused on children, giving to children, giving businesses an opportunity to set up and show their wares. Hoop for Hope, we partner with Dom on that and help sponsor him and support that every year in July to bring the entire community out, businesses, families, etc., to have a good time. So we find ourselves doing, lots of things like that. And while we're adding to those, we set up our Enough tent, and we're talking about voting. We're talking about, advocacy. We're talking about elected officials. And many times those politicians try to take advantage of us, and they'll come to the table. They'll see a bunch of folks, and they'll try to, come over there and shake hands. And I think it's my flesh. I'll always ask them questions that I know they don't want to answer in front of people. just see how they respond. Maybe that's why I'll never be a politician. But things like that are just great ways to get out and connect again and advocate for people. Anything else come to mind?
The nursing home.
We go to the nursing home. Yeah, every month that's definitely a special place in our hearts. And Janette's mom is in a nursing home in Maryland, but we minister at a nursing home locally, and that's in partnership with the community and with Zion. And we have volunteers from both sides that come out with us every month, and we fellowship. We talk to them. We sing praise and worship songs. We always serve communion at the end, and we've come to know a lot of them because we're going consistently. The key is consistency. I had a thought the other day, slow and steady wins the race, one step at a time, and be consistent. I think if you're going to serve, if you're going to be engaged, be consistent. Sometimes we just want the big splash and, the big Facebook post and,
We want the
200
picture.
likes. Yeah. But
We want that picture.
it's about being consistent, and people begin to trust you, and you can love on them and love on them from a real place, in your heart. And also, I serve as chaplain for my son's football team, and I had an opportunity, this school year, every Monday, to go in and speak to the boys, and move like a king was what God put on my heart. And each time I talk with them, and I bring guest speakers in, and there's some amazing men that I know in the community. Vernon came out one time, my friend Tony Steptoe, Anthony Melvin. They came out, and we're at the field house one particular time, and Tony shared with the boys. And at the end, the Lord, he put it on my heart to have an altar call. 6 boys gave their lives to the Lord right there at the field house. So that effort, that act of service and being there, for the coaches, was a more of a blessing to me than I think it was to the boys. So any opportunity that presents itself, to share the gospel and live it out in front of folks, we're typically going to take advantage of it until I get too busy and she, snatches me back.
That's right. Guys like me and you need to be snatched back sometimes. This has been awesome. And the reason why I wanted to ask that question is because of sometimes, I know for me, for years, I always heard community, but I really didn't know how to break through. It really was when I moved to this area and got to be around people like you, brother, that I saw the end to community. And I'm not blaming other people because we have to apply ourselves, but sometimes you just don't know where to start. And I'm hoping that people who are tuning in live and those who will actually see this in the playback, you'll hear something that will prick your heart and your ears to give you an idea. There's so many ways to serve. And so you've heard Gary talk about Zion Church of Fredericksburg. You heard him talking about Stafford Black. You heard him talking about Enough. You heard him talk about blessed hands. Listen, remember these names because these are places you can contact. You see the names, Gary Holland, Janette Holland. These are names that you can contact. Say, listen, I heard you talk about this. I heard you talk about that. I'm interested in feeding people. I'm interested in doing this. And Janette, I'm not gonna let you off the hook. I got one more question for you. These are the type of interviews that need to happen so people can get involved. Let me tell y'all something. Once you get involved, I'm gonna tell you something that you see. You see the same thing in churches. About 10% of the people are on all the committees and all the auxiliaries. We just wear different hats. There is so much work, right? The fields are so white. The harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. So please don't be a person who always has a complaint, who is so quick to pick up your electronic device and go to social media and have all these complaints, but you don't get yourself out into the community and make a difference. It's just noise. It's just noise. You're just noise. But if you get up and help, it may be once a month. It may be once a quarter. It may be a donation of your time, of your talent, of your resources, of your money. Whatever role you can play a role. It is your community. It is my community. It is our community. And let me tell you something. My grandmother taught me something as a little boy. She said, baby, you never know who got to bring your next glass of water or maybe even your last glass of water. In other words, we got to treat everybody well because you don't know when the person you just passed and didn't speak to, that might be the person that you need.
Yep.
We're all interconnected. Gary was talking about connecting the dots. That's a dot for you right there. So we want to know who's a member of our community. All of us. All of us. Even the folks that you don't like. They're the members of your community. All right. And so we have to find a way to try to serve. Serve. Don't try to be the one with the microphone and the spotlight all the time. Serve. And one thing I'm teaching in the ministry where Tisha and I serve, we have to be comfortable serving on the backside of the mountain where it's cold and dark. We have to be comfortable serving in the trenches where there's no applause, there's no spotlight, there's no platform, there's no microphone. We have to be comfortable there and not always run to the stage. Be comfortable serving in the place where God put us because there's plenty of work to do. He will reward when he's ready. He'll reward the way he wants to reward. And it's all right with me. So, Janette, I'm going to end with this. Now, you are pretty well known locally for when you get into the kitchen and you rattle those pots. And I know every now and then when you get yourself a little movement, you bring some of those Louisiana dishes, of which I have been a partaker of. Okay. And so I want to know what moves you? What moves you to rattle the pots and pans and every now and then y'all get on social media and make a call. And I've made a few donations. You know, I'm not gonna tell nobody that you charged me. You didn't charge me. You didn't. I just felt led to, you know, if I'm gonna come around there with a bowl, you know, and pull something from your pots, I just feel led to leave you a little something. I just think it's right. Well, I want to talk about that. What moves you? Because that's really a service too. Once again, really these are little things. Even during COVID, I mean, you know, we came in with the mask, but we were so hungry for community. We were so hungry for touch. Man, come in on those Thursdays when you were making that gumbo, that was the real deal. What moved you to do those things?
Well, first, I love to cook. And I cook a pretty decent pot of gumbo. And, you know, I just grew up just sharing. You know, it was okay to share, that we went to people's houses and we ate and we shared, we fellowship, we laughed, we played games and things like that. So because God has allowed me and he's given me the gift to cook, I'll just make gumbo. We have a gumbo Wednesdays.
It's Wednesday now.
And I'll make enough gumbo. I think we've did a little bit over 100 bowls was the max. What? And it, you know what? I love when people love to eat and they love a good meal. And it really makes me feel good. Like, because that's how I grew up. We grew up eating good and talking and fellowship. So that's all it's about. It's about community. You know, I take it from, if you ever looked at the Princess and the Frog a cartoon, there's a scene when Tiara made the pot of gumbo, right? And then a few minutes later, she hollered out on the porch, "I made some gumbo." And then other people was like, "Oh, y'all know I got some hush puppies," you know. And then them out on the porch, and they're talking about how food brings a community together. And that's exactly what I try to do. We get so many people in here, a lot of people we don't know, regulars, but we do get a lot of people we don't know. They say, "Oh, I heard about your gumbo." And then they're shocked because I don't. Again, I don't ask, but if they want to leave a donation, they can. And I said, "You're leaving a donation. If you do, it's to keep the pot full for the next time." And that's all
Yes.
it is. It allows me to go buy the supplies for the next time.
And we
And it
want those
doesn't have
pots to
to
stay full.
stay
Yes.
full. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, Carl, you bring that up because it is community
Yeah.
and it is a blessing. We have some dear friends that make sure now that there's a bowl with a Cash App on it. And Janette won't push it, but Joy and Kim will make sure that Cash App is there.
And Tanya.
And Tanya, yeah.
Tanya.
And it's such a blessing. I can't eat seafood. I can't eat shellfish. But it's seafood gumbo. But I love it. I mean, I love when she does it, and I'm always careful not to ask her to do it because it does take time for her to put it together. But she cooks so well and so quickly; it doesn't take a lot of time. But I look forward to it because I look forward to the house being full, and I know my neighbors must think we're selling drugs or something when we have gumbo Wednesday because people come to the door with nothing and they
Yeah.
leave with a
With a
bag.
bag.
Yeah.
you know,
We got the
but I
dope
love it.
man next door.
Exactly. And another community, before I forget, that you're a part of, actually, that the Lord used us to establish, 15 years ago, is the morning hour of prayer. And when
Yes.
I think about all these different things, to me, it's clear that the Lord just used us to establish different things or different communities as He gives us opportunity. And we establish that prayer line every morning. And now, 7 days a week at 6 o'clock, we have 5 different people, at 7, because different people pray on the weekends, praying every day. And that really blessed me the other day because I realized that morning hour prayer has been a consistent ministry outlet for me throughout the years when church may not have been there, or maybe I was experiencing church hurt and I wasn't able to go there, but I was able to get up every morning and jump on that prayer line at 6 and hear testimonies and hear somebody pray and hear somebody read the scripture, and that's community, that goes from London to the Bahamas. There's a minister Manley joins all the time from the Bahamas. Abigail joins all the time from London, and there are folks from different states, here that join in, and that's absolutely, another example of community. So to your point, some people think community is just getting out there and going into the hood, and yeah, you do that, and that is part of our community. But community is where you make it, and where the
Yes.
Lord kind of gives you vision and inspiration to connect people. That's where a community is, and it could be a prayer line, it could be a food kitchen, it could be a small group within church or within ministry where you get all the guys together on a regular basis to fellow. I mean, it could be whatever you make it, and I think as long as we don't put limits on community, we'll all be community advocates. That truly is our heart's desire.
Mhm.
That's right. Well, listen, I thank y'all. We've taken an hour of your time, and I know for you two, an hour is valuable. This is what I want y'all to do in the audience. Go to either Facebook or IG, look at enough, pound enough in caps, then exclamation, enough. Also look at blessed hands. As a matter of fact, I put something in the comment for blessed hands. There it is right there on your screen, blessedhands.store. That's the website, and you can see all, not all, but many of the wonderful items that Janette Holland has come up with. It's the artistry is mind blowing, and if you look, there's the art inside of the art, and there's a message inside of the art. And if you take some time to look, your mind is going to be blown. If you go to Facebook or Instagram and look at enough, you're going to see so much work. Gary also serves as executive pastor of Zion Fredericksburg. That church is a beacon light of the community. They are intrinsically involved in the community. I'm very thankful that I know many of them there, and they do a tremendous job. What a beacon light of a church at work in the community. Many churches could close their doors and the community would not know that they're gone. If Zion were to close their doors, there'd be a lot of people who would be hurting because they're that effective and that present in the community. And I thank God for that. So I've just given you some information that you can latch on to. And if you want to be active in the community, you can jump right in. You can also contact me here at Carl's Conversations. I can be like Gary. I can lead you to where we need to go. As a matter of fact, soon this is over, I got to call Gary. I got to talk to him about something. And we always got something to talk about. And just like that. So I want to thank each and every one of you who've been with us in the live audience. And for those of you who are catching this in the days, weeks, months, and years to come, this information will always be relevant. Thank God for each and every one of you. Reach out to us if you need more information. If you have not yet gone to Carl's Conversations on YouTube and Facebook and liked and subscribe, what are you waiting for? Huh? We're trying to build a community too. All right. And if you have an interesting story that you think is worth getting on the air, well, contact me. Let's talk about it. Maybe you'll be the next guest on this platform. Until then, may God bless you. I pray that all things are working well for you, your community, and your family. We'll see you next time on the next episode. Bye-bye for now.